Reawaken to your immortal identity and discover life between life's wisdom. Presented by the Michael Newton Institute.
Well, now that you're saying this, the moment you use the word coaching, now we can coach someone. It doesn't matter who the person is. When we firstly believe in your own potential to be able to nurture and contribute, and also to recognize in the other person the potential for them to go through a shift, a change, or growth. So it's both. It's acknowledging yourself, but you're also therefore acknowledging the other person. I'd love to know, in your daily life, are you doing anything? Do you do anything on a daily basis which enables you to sustain this momentum? Because, as I've said earlier, and I always maintain it, any spiritual awakening one goes through, any connection to our own soul potential, it's a daily moment-to-moment thing. So some of us, of course, because of the realm of work I'm in, we meditate. I, of course, do a lot of guided visualization and so on. I'd love to know, what do you do? And I guess you travel a lot. You obviously have a hands-full situation with 3 young kids at home. You're a hands-on parent and all of that. But I'd love to know, what does Will do to create within himself this constant connection with his own potential?
So I think I've changed a few of my habits. Some of them stayed the same, but some of the new things that came in over the last 18 months was, so just making a slightly different evening routine for myself, which was basically no television, and instead, a minimum of sort of 10 to half an hour, 10 minutes or half an hour's worth of reading, but then a very short 5 minutes to 10 minutes meditation. I found just, genuinely enjoyable. What first felt like it came out of a process where I was looking for a fix. I was anxious, and therefore I needed, it was almost like, it was a tool. It's now become something that I genuinely enjoy. I sort of very intermittently make some journal entries. I try not to make it only when I'm feeling down, but invariably, if you're feeling down, sometimes you have a little bit more to say. Exercise is a big one for me. So gym, I'm a bit obsessive with it, to the extent that it's a space where when I travel, even on holiday, when I was in Sri Lanka last week, I, made sure I found a good gym and went there every day. I know it's not most people's idea of a holiday, but it's just a way to challenge myself. Listen to music or listen to a podcast, and it's just an hour of space. And so the combination of those things, I get the ability to reset a little bit. And then the reading, it's a funny one because I think I used to be a fairly avid reader till my daughter was born in 2015. I must have read 4 books in the space of the 8 years that she was born, since she's been born. And then in the last 18 months, I've only read 30 books because I'm suddenly just making it part of my routine. And yeah, by virtue of what I have missed is I watch almost zero television now. I mean, I still look at idiot stuff on my phone, videos, and watch sporting clips, but I really, I used to watch at least an hour and a half of television a day in the evening, and I don't really even watch movies anymore. I found myself feeling a bit oversensitive to some of the content in movies and films, and it got me very frustrated that I wasn't resilient enough, that I couldn't watch a scary movie or couldn't watch a dark movie. And now I'm like, I feel empowered that those things aren't part of my life, But yeah, I very much.
I'd love to ask you, name me 3 books, just 3, that off the cuff you would say, oh, Indrani, those 3 books so touch my heart, or, those 3 books I so connect to.
Well, the one that I preached to you a lot about, which I was so skeptical at the beginning, was something my mother gave me, and I was I tutted when she gave it to me because I was like, another self-help book from my mum, and it was that Gabor Mate, The Myth of Normal. And it's got such a dark title because it's like, it's healing and toxicity or something. It's about the mind-body connection. And the first half of the book is all about the connection to serious illness and disease from stress, and the stress you put your body through mentally and physically, and how so it's a really dark topic. And then the second half is amazing because it's all about the opportunity. Once you understand that, the opportunities for healing and readjustment, it's just endless. But so I thought it was a bit depressing for the first 20 pages, but the more I got into it, the more I found that there were elements of that just vindicated for me the concept of trauma with a little t. Not it doesn't need to be a big bereavement in your family or poverty or hardship or whatever so many people in the world have to deal with, but that doesn't mean that your experience is any less valid in causing causing issues and causing harm. And there was some interesting stuff in there that felt a little bit like I was being spoken to directly, because it was talking about the corporate world, and just the concept of staying busy to get over your problems, which is definitely something that I think toxic male corporate culture is just made de rigueur, right? That's just the way things have been for so long. So that was one book, and quite an undertaking, just as I said, because you're reading it late at night and you're reading about cancer patients. As I feel very sensitive to sleep, things that would be sensitive to a bad night's sleep. But actually, I found it inspiring in the detail. The other book, well, the other author rather than a book, was that the modern day Stoic philosopher Ryan Holiday, who wrote the book "The Obstacle Is the Way," which is an interesting concept, which is again just trying to find opportunity in challenge. And actually, the the story of how I came to read that book was quite interesting as well, because there was um, I had a bit of back pain, and my wife told me to go and see this physio in Dubai, and said this physio guy is amazing. And he said he's not really a physio, he's a therapist as well as a physio. And I went to see this guy, and he's sort of needing my shoulder, but sort of by only asking a few select questions, I found myself talking completely freely about my whole life. And I was having some anxiety at the time, and very softly spoken English chap who just moved to Dubai. And then off the back of that, he recommended me this book, and he also recommended me to join this men's circle, which was deeply uncomfortable, but amazing experience to go and sit with a bunch of men and share experiences around everything, just life, a little bit of meditation, but just sort of, as you say, holding space. So that I read that book off the back of this experience, and it just had some really interesting concepts for me that I have actually brought to the corporate world as well, because I get a resignation in my team, and I'm like, okay, well, what can I? Is it negative to lose a good colleague? But what's the positive in this? There's a promotion opportunity from someone within the team, or I get to go and hire someone. I wasn't party to this person's hire. I can go and replace. So there's always those positives.
Yeah, I remember those two words you said. They're so brilliant. Obstacle, challenge. So when you look at something, it's the perspective with which you look at it that makes it possible for you to see an obstacle as a challenge. So the moment it's a challenge, it immediately gives you an opportunity to look at possibilities that you need to explore to be able to overcome that challenge. An obstacle can be seen as a block. So when you said that, somebody's leaving doesn't have to be a negative, doesn't need to have a negative connotation. It can have a positive connotation, because you can get somebody in, a fresh person from the outside, or you enable somebody to look at this as an opportunity to get promoted. So the perspective change it's brilliant. And as you said, the moment you see an obstacle as a challenge, you've already made the shift.
Yeah.
What's the third book?
Well, the third book, I was deliberating over which one to choose, but the third book I'd probably choose was a non-fiction book called The Monk of Mocha, which is by one of my favorite American authors called Dave Eggers, Californian-based author. But he wrote a story about a real-life character, and I'm going to forget his name, but basically he was a chap from the Yemen, based in the US, who a sort of slightly want-away child who was sort of wasting his life a bit, but they were refugees from Yemen. Anyway, he decided to go back, and he got into the coffee business. And at the time, because apparently the first coffee plant in the world comes from Yemen in the highlands. But they'd been exported to other highland areas and grown. And there was this huge sort of premium coffee business that was growing in, the US and Europe, people paying ridiculous amounts of money for certain cups of coffee. Anyway, this guy traveled to Yemen back and forth and started building a network, and realized that they had this untapped potential in Yemeni coffee. So he, at great personal risk, went and explored all the local Yemeni farmers for the coffee, and took them back to the California place where they do this thing called, I can't remember, it's coffee grading, basically, to basically check the quality. Right. And he brought back, 20 different types of coffee, and all of which scored, I think it was out of 100, like 20 or less. And one of them scored 99, the highest ever coffee grading the world has ever seen.
Wow.
And he then went back and started a business with this local farmer. This is while the Civil War kicked off. and he managed to export enough coffee on a regular basis despite the Civil War, and made a whole business. And these single cups of coffee would retail for like $15 in the US.
Wow.
It was just an amazing story, and the stuff he had to go through to get the coffee out of the country was was really, really interesting. So that was my third book.
What did you take from this book?
Just resiliency, and the fact that an individual could. Well, I guess it's a quality that I'm not sure I've ever really had. I've always admired, which is, I mean, maybe he didn't know that it was going to achieve it, but he was also, he tried something out there. You know what I mean? Like, in the face of such adversity, why wouldn't you just give up? I've always been slightly more risk adverse. So I've always been comfortable with a nice corporate umbrella or family umbrella, and then you can try stuff. But I've got a huge amount of respect for people that, either forge their career without that corporate umbrella, or even, decide that they don't want that family structure and still have the ability to support themselves. Yeah.
And that's very true, because resilience is a very, very necessary, I would say, a quality, a trait for anyone. If you look at all of us, anyone who has been able to withstand certain amount of obstacles in their lives, who've taken challenges head on, who move forward, the one quality that enables you to keep sustaining yourself is resilience, because with resilience, discipline will come in. You don't give up too easily. And, most people who have these huge success stories to tell us is this amazing soul potential of resilience. So the fact that this person could do what he did, and the way it's inspiring people across the world. And I think that this brings me to that little bit that if I were to ask you today, Will, with your journey and the journey that you're on, with all that you're learning, and I'm sure you have so much you're probably learning from your children by just observing them and the experiences they are going through as souls who've chosen to come into this world as your children. They've chosen to trust you as a father, as a parent. And all these experiences that you're going through, what would your message be for our viewers? Because I'm sure we completely and totally believe in the immense potential of the soul, and the fact that we've taken on this incarnation to be who we are here today, sharing what we're doing. Even this discussion, this dialogue, this give and take of information between you and me. And my intention is, if somebody somewhere in this beautiful world is going to be listening to the two of us, they'll take something from what Will is saying and what Will is sharing, and probably apply a little bit of that in their life and benefit out of it. And even if one person benefits, for me, that's so worth what we're just sharing here right now, right here. So anything that you'd like our viewers to know from you, hear from you, that you'd like to share.
Oh, tough one.
As a father, as a husband, as a man, as the MD, this leader at work, the friend, the son, the brother, whichever role. It's you, human being that you are.
I think you probably hit it there just with your last point, which is, all these roles that we think that we sort of have to carry out, that, if you want to have any chance of, staying present, as you perform these roles, and being a vulnerable human throughout it all. So whether it's the business leader or the son, the father, the wife, I think that always there's this need to be a vulnerable human. Do you know what I mean? And then I think some of the worst traits that you pick up, or habits or attitudes, come from any attempts to stray out of that, being human. Sometimes it's necessary, sometimes you need it as a protection, but I think more often than not, it's you know, it's the ability to stay in that human element that will see you right through almost all of those situations. I'm thinking of, the endless parenting books you read in terms of, and we had some challenges with my daughter around, we tried to discipline this, and then we flipped between different things, and there's so much conflicting advice in the world on how to be a leader, how to be a father, how to be the one thing that I think you can't really ever say is wrong is that as long as you deal with it with, humanity or that sort of human element to it, you're not really going to go wrong. I still think that being present as a concept is pretty challenging.
It is.
And it's something that I and this so the intuition I mentioned earlier, or the ability that I've sort of slowly been developing in terms of catching myself reacting to stuff. I also do have the same, as that, I find myself worrying about a situation that hasn't happened, or whatever it might be. Your brain's just offered a completely different, you're not present in the moment. And then whilst I might not be able to achieve that, I think I'd always thought, well, being present is something I can't really achieve because I've got a busy life, so I shouldn't even try. But actually, there is also a lot of merit in trying. The practice of being present is just as important as the being present, if you see what I mean. Anything you can do to ground yourself in the moment. And that might mean that you're present for 10 seconds, not for 2 hours, but it's, that's still worth it,
But the beauty of what you said is, it's to be a human, and I'm going to put this out as an intention, especially in the world that we are in today. Being human, acknowledging our own vulnerability, enabling us to therefore have the presence in the now, to have the power to believe in the vulnerability of someone else, not just my own vulnerabilities, but also being mindful, being aware, being compassionate, holding space for each other, enables us to be able to grow as humans. And I just want to say a huge thank you, Will, because you've shared from your heart. And I'm so grateful that you've shared your journey with us. And I'm hoping and praying that you continue to grow in all these roles that you have, each of those roles, and may each support the other roles. So continue being human, enjoy the vulnerabilities of being human, and I'm sure it's just going to keep making you a better and better human being, enjoying the journey that you're on. I just want to say a huge thank you, Will, on behalf of Michael Newton Institute and myself, for your time, for all the thoughts you've shared, for sharing with us a little bit of yourself. I just want to say a huge thank you.
Thank you, Indrani. It's been a pleasure, and thank you for your questions. They've been, very well put, to the extent that the stuff I've shared is, it's been a delight talking about it.
Thank you, Will. All the very best.
Thanks, Indrani. Take care.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye. Thank you, guys, for tuning in, for being here, listening, and always following us. And on behalf of the Michael Newton Institute and myself, I just want to say thank you. Please share, please like, and forward our podcasts to those who you feel will resonate with what we share. And I endeavor, and I keep trying to invite these wonderful souls to come and share with us their stories, their journeys, and all that they're going through as we all navigate our journeys on Earth as humans, enjoying this beautiful planet that we do. Thank you so much, and do keep tuning in. And once again, thank you and bye-bye.